Welcome to the Season 2 opener at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, which matches up UCLA versus Florida State in a matchup that's sure to deliver. Florida State comes in with plenty of preseason expectations. They are the favorite to actually win the SEC East and potentially make their first SEC championship game. One of the big stories going into this year was how Florida State was going to replace Jordan Travis. And after a long quarterback battle throughout the spring and the fall, Florida State has named true freshman Luke Kromenhoek as their starter. They think that he has the most physical upside, and that he's done a lot of maturing in the offseason, and that they can rely on this true freshman to run this offense. But they face a challenge today in a UCLA team that faced a similar challenge in their last season. UCLA doesn't quite have the same preseason expectations that Florida State has. UCLA is slotted to be the third best team in the Pac-12 North, behind Utah and USC. But UCLA made a lot of great strides last year, and a lot of that has to do with their true freshman quarterback play that they received in the form of Dante Moore. His season last year was very up and down. He did have double-digit interceptions, but the 26 passing touchdowns and a pretty okay completion percentage for a true freshman leads a lot of people to believe that Dante Moore is ready to take the next step and lead this Bruins offense. They are going to have their hands full with a nationally acclaimed Florida State defense on their hands. But it's time for kickoff and to see how the Bruins and the Seminoles match up. And it is time to go as Rodney Hill is going to return this first kick for Florida State. He's going to return it up the middle after a little bit of zigzagging, and he'll get about to the 20-yard line. And let's go to the starting lineups for today's game on this side of the ball when Florida State's on offense. From left to right, it's Simmons, Bennett, Smith, Byers, and Brown for Florida State. You see a lot of senior leadership and a redshirt freshman making up that offensive line for Florida State. And then our skill position players, you have Badger, Thomas, Martinez, Gadsden, and Wilson. Main storyline here is Johnny Wilson coming back for his redshirt senior season, wanting to be the number one target, and then getting to have targets like Rondé Gadsden, Damian Martinez, and Elijah Badger from the transfer portal helping out the crew. And then, as we mentioned, a true freshman Luke Kromenhoek taking the starting quarterback role. And then for UCLA, they have a pretty experienced defensive line led by Grayson Murphy. And then at the linebacker position, they are going to have a true freshman in Dylan Williams trying to get his feet wet, but they have some other experienced guys to help them out on that front. And then for their defensive backs, it's a pretty simple proposition for them. Andrew Makuba, the Clemson transfer, is going to lead this unit, trying to help this youngish crew try to get their feet under them in a big game like this at a neutral site, but still a home field advantage for Florida State. We'll see how that UCLA defense responds in this crew. And the play clock is already down to 5 seconds for the true freshman Luke Kromenhoek. Maybe getting a little trouble getting the play in. Tries to throw it off on a screen pass to Johnny Wilson. He is taken down for an 8-yard loss. And Florida State is immediately behind the sticks. Making some changes at the line, though, it looks like for Luke Kromenhoek. It's a 2nd and 18 that he's going to face on his second play as a college quarterback. And he's going to get sacked here, and that is the great defensive end who makes him pay. And Kromenhoek definitely facing some growing pains as it's a 3rd and 21. You probably just want to try and get some yardage back here. You don't need to try and do too much. Can't be going for 21. He rolls out to the right, fires, and hits the Syracuse transfer tight end to Rondé Gadsden. But that will end Florida State's first drive as they'll have to punt. Now, on this side, here's the starting lineup. For Florida State's defense, they have Gilbert Edmond, Darrell Jackson, C.J. Clark, and Patrick Payton. C.J. Clark is the big win here as he's a transfer defensive tackle. Who's going to be taking on a lot of the lion's share of the duty at that spot. Then Jones and Lundy are going to be doing most of the linebacker duties with quite a bit of rotation as well for Florida State. And then in the defensive backfield, the person I want to point out is KJ Bolden, making the start as a true freshman. They think that he can make an impact early in this defensive backfield and help Florida State reach their goals that they're looking for this season. And then for UCLA, you look at their offensive line, they have a nice mix of seniors and freshmen and sophomores, so they're going to be trying to break in a pretty new line for themselves. And then the skill position players for UCLA, they have Jake Beringstool, the Clemson tight end, was their big addition that they made through the transfer portal to this group. And then as we've talked about earlier, Dante Moore is going to lead this offense onto the field for his true sophomore campaign. We'll see what he has up his sleeve and if he's able to make an impact early against this Florida State defense that is definitely going to be trying to get after him early. First down snap to Moore, and he's going to throw this one away pretty quickly. Did not like the pressure he was already facing. Now it's second down, and he hits a nice slant route to Rodney Gallagher, who will pick up 13 yards, and UCLA has a new set of downs, and they're now in business, looking a little nicer than Florida State did on a drive where they went backwards. Again, a second slant pattern to Rodney Gallagher, and they are taking advantage early of the true freshman Charles Lester on the outside. He's getting a couple of early snaps here that we did not expect, but Florida State has let him come out, and he's gotten beat early on the slant patterns. This is Carson Steele with a run to the outside that breaks back to the inside. That'll be a 5-yard gain for UCLA, and they now face a second and very manageable 5. Another handoff to Steele, and he's going to get hit early by KJ Bolden, who puts a nice hit on him and forces a 3rd and 3, and now UCLA is going to have to convert when it matters here. Run to the outside for Harden, and he is stopped up, and he will not reach the line to gain. Will not gain anything on that one, as that was Kevin Knowles, the nickelback, making a nice play. He'll alternate between playing a boundary corner and a nickelback. Him and Greedy Vance are going to do a lot of switching up there, but he makes a nice play on the boundary to force a missed field goal for UCLA, and this will stay a 0-0 game. Next play for Florida State on their drive, Damian Martinez gets 2 yards. The transfer from Oregon State, getting some positive yardage and getting Florida State on schedule, not having to face too many negative plays would be nice for a true freshman quarterback. And Kromenhoek has a little bit of a muffed handoff, but is able to get positive yardage, gets 4 yards to pick up a 3rd and 5 for Florida State. Big play here for them. Rolling out to the right is Kromenhoek, looking for anything, but he's going to end up rolling all the way past the first down marker. 9-yard rush for Kromenhoek. 1st and 10 Florida State. Handoff up the middle to Damian Martinez is good for 3 yards. 2nd and 7 now for the true freshman quarterback, who seems to be getting his legs under him a little bit. And this time Martinez has space, as he'll get 10 yards. And first down for Luke Kromenhoek, makes a slight change at the line. He now gets the snap, rolls a little bit to the right, unloads down the sideline, and that's Johnny Wilson for a score. That is the first career touchdown pass for Luke Kromenhoek, and it was a beauty as he hit Johnny Wilson right at the goal line. And that's a beautiful target that you have there at 6'7", and it's hard to miss him, and Kromenhoek sure didn't. And now that puts UCLA down 7-0 and trying to respond. And just like they did in the last drive, Rodney Gallagher will get a nice slant pattern, and that'll put Florida State behind the sticks again, 1st and 10 for UCLA. This time they run it to the outside with Carson Steele for 9 yards. That's a 2nd and 1, and that's where UCLA wants to stay in these manageable situations and just pick up the tough yardage when they need to. Steele gets just enough on that rush. He'll pick up a first down for UCLA, and they've had some decent success on the ground, and you would expect them to stay there, and that short passing game seems to be working so far. Moore moves a little bit in the pocket. He hits one of his running backs, TJ Harden, for 8 yards, and again, staying in those manageable situations. They're looking at a 2nd and 2. Pressure up the middle, forces a throw to the outside, and KJ Bolden is able to get that tackle for loss on Harden and forces a 3rd and 4 for UCLA, and they are now a little bit off schedule and in a position where they could run or throw. Moore looks and he fires and he hits his receiver, who cuts over the middle of the field for 18 yards. They're inside the 30-yard line, and this offense is definitely in a position where they're at a scoring opportunity. Let's see how UCLA wants to convert. Good protection for UCLA. Hits Carson Steele, who bounces off a couple of defenders. He'll still be a couple inches short. It's 2nd and inches for the UCLA offense now. A lot of guys at the line of scrimmage, but they're going to dump it off to Ryan Pellett, who'll find his way to the end zone. Touchdown UCLA. Good looking design, felt some pressure up the middle. Moore was able to dump it off, and that will tie the game 7-7. And the true freshman quarterback for Florida State has another opportunity. He's got a guy open on the corner route, and he just overthrew the true freshman Landon Thomas. It'll now bring up a 2nd and 10 where Damian Martinez dashes up the middle. It looked like he had a lot of running room, but gets taken down from behind after a 13-yard gain. He's running very nicely so far, so it looks like Kromenhoek's going to have that option throughout the game pretty easily. Martinez again runs for 7 yards, running very hard for this Florida State offense. It's really nice to see, and it's a 2nd and 3 at this point. Kromenhoek rolls out to the right, fires and hits Elijah Badger, the Arizona State transfer, who spins his way out of bounds right before the 15-yard line. And now it is a 1st and 10 with about 5 seconds left in the first quarter. We'll see if Florida State gets one more playoff. Kromenhoek looking, rolling to the off-ball side, sets his feet, fires to the end zone and finds another true freshman, Camden Fryer, 14-7 Florida State. What an impromptu play that Luke Kromenhoek was able to make with his feet and his arm. And now Florida State is up 14-7, and UCLA has the ball back to start the second quarter. They'll get a nice rush from Carson Steele that goes for 14 yards. 1st and 10 for UCLA. Moore gets the snap. He gets pretty good protection, but has to roll out to the right to escape a little bit. Bounces off one defender, and he's able to rush for first down yardage. That'll be 11 yards in the books. And now UCLA is around midfield of Camping World Stadium. Here's going to be a handoff to TJ Harden. He has a nice burst, but he's taken down for only a 1-yard gain. And UCLA now has a 2nd and 9, and they're a little behind schedule than they'd like to be. They've got a couple of slant patterns, and you know that's going to be Jake Beringstool, the Clemson transfer, able to pick up an 11-yard reception and a new set of downs for UCLA. Florida State bunching a lot of guys up near the middle of the field, trying to clog it up. Beringstool tried to get a second reception in a row, but that's knocked away. Now Moore 9 of 11 to start the game. Pretty nice start for him despite that incompletion. Now Steele will try to rush up the middle, but there will be no gain there. 3rd and 10 UCLA, big opportunity for Florida State to make a stop if it's there. Steele is able to break off a tackle on that reception. He'll get 13 when he needed 10. And now that will bring up a first down for UCLA, as both offenses have been moving pretty efficiently to start today's game. Good protection again for UCLA. Dumps this off to TJ Harden, and he is able to get hit after 4 yards. It'll be a 2nd and 6 now for the Bruins. Handoff to TJ Harden after his reception, and he will not make the line to gain. He'll get about half of it back, though. 3rd and 3 now. UCLA can run or pass. They're in a good option situation here with whatever they want to do. Moore looking to the right. He hits Carson Ryan, who's brought out of bounds, as it'll be a 4th and inches, and they will decide to go for it. You know, this game has been up and down pretty quick. Want to see if they can manage a touchdown out of this. And that throw to the right is dropped. And that'll be a costly drop, as it gives Florida State the ball back right at that position. 1st and 10, about 6 minutes to go. And on the snap, Rodney Hill runs out to the left, as Hill will take that counter look for about 6 yards and sets up a 2nd and manageable for the Florida State offense, led by Luke Kromenhoek. He's got some pressure on him, but dumps it off to Deuce Spann. He won't get anything out of that one. It'll go down as just a reception for no yards. 3rd and 3 for Florida State. Run up the middle by Cam Davis. The true freshman gets his first carry of his Florida State career, and it'll be a hard-fought 4 yards. That'll give a new set of downs to Florida State, though, as they seem to be pretty comfortable. After a 5-yard penalty, Florida State has 1st and 15. Kromenhoek rolls out to the right, hits a Rondé Gatson, who breaks a tackle. He's running free. No one's there. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Rondé Gatson. And Luke Kromenhoek has 3 passing touchdowns in his debut for Florida State. And you've got to feel like Mike Norvell feels a little vindicated going with a little off-kilter choice in Kromenhoek, as he has delivered so far. Next play for UCLA, Moore slightly overthrows his receiver. Good coverage anyways, forces a 2nd and 10. Next play, Moore fires to the left side and probably should have been picked off by Fentrell Cypress, but it's knocked away for a 3rd and 10. Little pressure on Dante Moore. He makes a nice throw this time to Jake Beringstool, and they will pick up the 13 yards. And that will give them that fresh set for a 1st and 10. 4:10 to go in the half. Moore throws a very off balance, and he hits Rodney Gallagher for 4 yards. Clock will keep on moving. 2nd and 6, UCLA. Moore fires this one out to the left. He'll hit Rodney Gallagher, who's been quite busy so far. That one will only go for 3 yards, and it's a 3rd and 3, and another opportunity for Florida State to get off the field. Let's see if they can get it. But this time they hit Jake Beringstool. He'll get some run after the catch as he nears the 40-yard line, and UCLA is on the move again from the offensive side. Carson Steele running hard for this offense, and you gotta imagine he can stay involved as long as they can stay in striking distance. 6 yards gets them to a 2nd and 4. Moore fires and hits his receiver, breaks off a tackle, gets near the middle of the field as he'll be about at the 20-yard line, it looks like, after that 16-yard reception. And UCLA has had no problem moving the ball, but Florida State is converting touchdowns right now, and that's got to put a lot of pressure on the Bruins offense as he fires to the left. It looks like Grant Gray dropped that pass in the end zone, as it would have been a sure touchdown for UCLA and Dante Moore. Next play, dumps it off to Beringstool, was able to power his way for 4 yards. Still forces a 3rd and 6 and a tough conversion for UCLA if they want to keep this drive going. He fires, he hits Carson Steele. He'll bounce off one defender, but he's eventually taken down. He's been very crucial in the pass game, already with 3 receptions so far. 1st and goal, UCLA. Nice drop back, has plenty of protection down here in the red zone. He looks like Florida State didn't even want to take him down. He gets tripped up a little bit, almost takes himself down, but it will go down as a sack for Kevin Knowles. Minute 18 remaining in the half. 2nd and goal for UCLA with some time ticking away. Looking to make a play. They hit the receiver in the middle of the field. That'll be a touchdown for UCLA after that one. Great play. And now UCLA is able to cut this to a 21-14 game. And the true freshman has another test. Can he lead them to another touchdown drive in just a minute? He finds Deuce Spann this time for his 2nd catch. That one will go for 17 yards this time. Fresh set of downs for Luke Kromenhoek and company. Looked like a screen pass that just did not go the way that they wanted. And Kromenhoek is able to rush out of bounds, doesn't take a sack, so it stops the clock. 51 seconds for Florida State with their full complement of 3 timeouts. There goes Kromenhoek rolling out to the right, looking for something to open up, fires. He hits Elijah Badger, that Arizona State transfer. 18 yards on that crossing pattern, is able to give them a 1st down in opponent territory. Readjusts his feet and he hits Landon Thomas, the true freshman, the #1 tight end in the country in that recruiting class last year. Sets up a 2nd and 6 for Florida State. This rollout to the right, he fires down the field, and Johnny Wilson comes down with a big pass near the goal line. He'll be about 2 or 3 yards short. 3 receptions for 62 yards for him. And now Damian Martinez gets into the end zone, and he's only touched and brought down in the end zone. It's far too late. Touchdown Florida State. They go up 28-14. UCLA only has 30 seconds left in the half if they want to try and put any more points on the board. But Moore will fire deep, and the receiver breaks off a tackle. He's rushing down the left sidelines. He'll get to the 15 and will not reach the 10. Will be about the 13-yard line after 62 yards. Here comes UCLA. They have all their timeouts and will use one here after a 6-yard rush for TJ Harden. 2nd and 4 now for UCLA. Down 28-14. You're in a spot where you're going to be able to get points. You just got to manage this correctly. This is fired through the back of the end zone. No receiver in the area. 3rd and 4 UCLA. This time looking for anything. Tries to rush away, but he is brought down. It'll go down as a sack for Daryl Jackson, the defensive tackle. And the UCLA will kick the field goal at that point on 4th down, as it will be a 28-17 game at the half. Florida State looks dynamic on offense. Luke Kromenhoek has been everything that has been promised. And now UCLA is facing this potent offense and is going to need to start the 2nd half with a score of their own to get back on track. They're going to try to run to the outside with Steele, and he is brought down by Taurus Jones. The linebacker from James Madison makes a nice play to set up a 2nd and 5. Fakes the handoff to Steele. Fires down the right sideline, and it will not be a competitive throw. That one will go down as an incompletion. 3rd and 5 for UCLA. Good drop back for Moore, gets decent protection, but Ryan is not able to make the line to gain on his run after catch, and they will punt it back to Florida State, who already holds a 28-17 lead as the true freshman hands off to Rodney Hill, breaks off a couple of tackles, gets his best run of the day, 11 yards for Rodney Hill. This time a rush to Damian Martinez as he's stumbling forward. That'll be 8 yards for Florida State in their run game that has been very efficient on a yards per carry basis so far. Martinez again for 5 yards. Looks like Florida State is just kind of wanting to impose its will on the ground after having their aerial assault in the first half, and there's 10 more yards for Damian Martinez. There is nobody in these running lanes, and Damian Martinez does not seem too upset about it, as he already has 62 yards rushing on the day. This one's a counter run to the outside, blocked up beautifully, untouched to the end zone. That's touchdown number 2 for Damian Martinez. And this Florida State offense looks dang scary at this point, and UCLA is going to need a response very quickly because this game could get out of hand on them very, very rapidly. Dante Moore next play, and he's going to get brought down, and he fumbles, but they're able to recover it. He is brought down with some intense pressure from Florida State, who is bringing a lot of guys at him now, and he is not able to stand back in the pocket so comfortably anymore. He is able to drop this one off to Carson Steele for 12 yards, though. Sets up a more manageable 3rd and 3. Let's see where UCLA goes with the offense in a need-to-have-it kind of moment. He dumps it off to the left side, Harden trying to get to the line to gain, but he'll come up inches short. And Chip Kelly and company look at each other and they're just going to punt it back to Florida State, which does not seem like a wise choice at this point, already down 18 points in the middle of the third quarter. Outside run to Martinez that he cuts back to the middle to get 5 yards, and that's all you need at this point is just keep the ball moving, and they seem to have a very nice flow in this offense. Rodney Hill, he'll run about 6 or 7 yards before he's even touched by a UCLA defender. That will go down as a 9-yard gain, first down Florida State. Outside throw to Elijah Badger, who spins his way out of bounds. 16 yards for the transfer, who's had a very nice day. He gets very open in this Florida State offense, so that's nice to see. Damian Martinez, another 1 yard for himself as he's approaching 100 yards rushing on the day. Kromenhoek, plenty of time in the pocket, rolls out to the right a little bit, then fires over the defender's head to Oronde Gadsden, who will be able to pick up 8 of the 9 needed yards, 3rd and 1. Then you get a nice run up the middle, just doing the dirty work, 2 yards when you need 1, and that's a first down for Florida State. Play action pass for Kromenhoek, rolls out to the right a little bit, and he's hit as he throws. That goes down as only his second incompletion of the day. 2nd and 10 for Florida State. Cam Davis in the backfield with him. He'll get the carry, and he'll power forward for 2 yards and sets up a 3rd and 8 for the Florida State offense. Blitz is picked up pretty well and then fires in a corner route to Elijah Badger, who's been getting wide open against these UCLA DBs, and it was about time that he found the end zone. The 4th passing touchdown and over 300 yards passing for Luke Kromenhoek. I think this will go down as a pretty nice debut for the true freshman, and Florida State was in business up 42-17. Next drive for Dante Moore and company can't quite hit Jake Beringstool on the sideline. It'll be a 2nd and 10. Pump fake to the outside, then fires a slant pattern to the inside for 7 yards. That's Grant Gray with that reception, his first catch of the day after dropping an easy touchdown earlier on. 3rd and 3 for UCLA. Moore making some moves in the pocket, doesn't seem quite comfortable, and Gray drops his 2nd ball of the day, this time on the sideline. 4th and 3, and they punt it back to Florida State. Just does not seem like a good choice at this point, but it keeps on happening. This one will start with 2 yards for Rodney Hill. 2nd and 8, Florida State. Kromenhoek rolls out to the right, looking for his options. Doesn't look like he's got much there, and he gets brought down, and that might actually go down as a technical sack. He definitely didn't gain any yardage from that play. 3rd and 8 for Florida State. Off-ball side rush for Kromenhoek, trying to scramble, and as he gets brought down, he fumbles the football. UCLA recovers, and now they will have the ball in their best field position of the day. And they definitely need it, down 42-17, only 55 seconds left in the half. They have been getting dominated in this half and have not had a lot of success on the offensive side, so maybe a short field can help them out. Moore gets decent protection, and he's able to hit his receiver for a 7-yard gain. There's 2nd and 3 for UCLA. Let's see if they can finish this drive now down in the red zone. Here's Carson Steele running really nicely through a lane that gives them 8 yards, and UCLA is now at 1st and goal territory. Fakes the handoff, dumps it to Grant Gray. He takes a nice slant pattern all the way to the end zone. He really needed that after a couple of drops that really cost UCLA, but Moore shows his faith in him. He gets over the middle of the field, hits him in stride, and he's able to work his way into the end zone. And UCLA is now only down 42-24. 16 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Handoff to Damian Martinez as he hits the middle of the field very nicely for 12 yards before he finds a defender, as he has over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on the day. Not a bad debut for the transfer from Oregon State. He'll take another handoff to start the 4th quarter. He's able to get 7 yards on this one. 2nd and 3, Florida State. Double back look. Florida State's taking plenty of time, not really concerned with it at this point. And Martinez makes another burst for 18 yards, and he is gashing UCLA at every point that he can. Under 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. This time it's a screen pass to Cam Davis. He's able to cut up the field. He'll get some extra yardage. That'll be about a 6-yard gain. 2nd and 4 for Florida State. Time continues to tick. Only 3 down linemen in this look. Let's see what Florida State does, but it'll just be another inside handoff, and Damian Martinez is able to get 7 yards with only 3 down linemen, and that's pretty impressive, you gotta say. This time it's a counter look to Cam Davis. He's going to get 5 yards, as he has not had as many rushing lanes as Damian Martinez has had, but still has looked pretty nice in his first career game. Oronde Gadsden gets the short pass this time. He'll get a 7-yard reception, and that's first down Florida State. They're driving again. Dump off to Landon Thomas, that true freshman we talked about earlier. He'll get another catch, this time for 8 yards. 2nd and 2. He dumps this one to Luane McCoy, another true freshman that they're incorporating into the offense. He'll have 1 catch for 1 yard. It's 3rd and 1 for Florida State. Damian Martinez gets 3 more yards, was looking for his 3rd rushing touchdown, but could not quite get to the end zone there. Cam Davis loses a yard on his next one as time continues to tick. We're under 4 minutes to go. Hand off to Martinez, and Martinez can't find the end zone again as UCLA is stuffing it up and making it pretty hard. Kromenhoek on an option look, just hits a defender in the back with a pitch. It looks like they were already tackling the pitch man that he thought was going to be there. That was Sam Singleton. But that'll be another turnover and fumble for Luke Kromenhoek, and Dante Moore takes over the offense now. He rushes out to the right, and he is brought down for no gain. Florida State sets up a 2nd and 10 for the UCLA offense. Jake Beringstool only gets a 6-yard reception and another 3rd down faced for UCLA. 3rd and 4. Let's see what they can do. And the pressure from C.J. Clark coming from the defensive tackle position just annihilates Moore. And they punt the ball back to Florida State, and that will be the surrender that you would imagine as Florida State is just going to run the ball from this point forward. UCLA will call a couple of timeouts to stay competitive, but Florida State has full control and just needs 1 more timeout, or 1 more first down at this point. UCLA out of timeouts. Let's see if they can get it. There's Damian Martinez. When he needed 4, he'll just take 16. And that will be the finishing touches on this game for Florida State, as they'll be able to rush out the rest of this game as their offensive line continues to get a good push. They'll get a couple of carries for their true freshman running back, making sure he's staying involved, as Cam Davis, in a game against a big opponent, was able to get quite a few carries today, and Florida State has got to feel very happy with how today's game went. Luke Kromenhoek, the true freshman, came out and absolutely balled out and proved Mike Norvell right that there is a certain maturity in decision-making that maybe on a couple of those fumbles wasn't on display, but he played an amazing game and deserves that player of the game honors. 90% completions, 18 of 20, 327 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 sacks. I think that'll play. Pretty nice win to start the year. That's a good feeling, and as this game was playing out, I gotta say that felt really good. Damian Martinez, 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. This offense just feels incredibly dynamic. I think there's a lot of elements to this offense that we're going to start to unlock, and this was only game 1, so seeing the rushing offense perform like that in conjunction with a receiving offense that had 2 100-yard receivers. Johnny Wilson only had 62 yards, but he made an impact when he needed to and came up with some big catches, and I think this is going to be a constant evolution for this team that seems really, really dynamic, and I think a lot of that has to do with Luke Kromenhoek, who I'm not saying he's better than Jordan Travis, but this was better than a lot of Jordan Travis games we saw last year, and I think this offensive dynamic may be very legit, and we may have a chance of actually being that SEC contender that we are projected out to be. On the defensive side, made some adjustments at halftime and were able to kind of shut down UCLA's offensive attack that was doing a lot of their heavy lifting in the first half, but seeing 2 sacks for Darrell Jackson, 2 sacks for C.J. Clark, getting a lot of pressure up the middle is nice to see. Kevin Knowles getting some tackles for loss. Even KJ Bolden, the freshman, got some good looks. On the UCLA side, Dante Moore, 3 touchdowns, had a really nice day himself. He was making a lot of short passes, wasn't really attacking down the field, but was trying to operate their offense in the best way that he could. And just, not enough for them, but I think they're still a solid team, but a good team to warm up with for us, as we're going to head right into SEC play in week 2, which is going to be a test. I wanted something that was going to give Luke Kromenhoek an idea of this is kind of what to expect, this is what we're going to be looking for, but I think this accomplished that goal for us. It wasn't a group of 5 team and a team from a lesser conference that we would be able to out-talent by a big margin. I still think we're more talented than UCLA, but I think this gives us a good look as we head into our next game, which is going to be against Ole Miss. So definitely tune in for that one. That'll be coming after our week 1 recap video, which is going to be loaded with games, a lot of big storylines that we're going to want to get our hands on and see how they're looking. Mainly seeing what Arch Manning looks like in Texas and what Dylan Raiola looks like in Georgia are going to be the 2 main things we'll be looking at. So tune in for that one as well. stay subscribed to the channel. The videos are going to keep on coming, and I appreciate everybody watching these videos and staying up to date on everything, and it's been a pleasure as always. Go Noles!